What happens when you take two guys from New York who absolutely love to talk and give them a license to rant? You get your hosts, John Peasy and Mikey Sausage.
Hello, Mr. Peasy.
Hello, Mr. Sausage. I always laugh as the intro goes on because I'm sitting here and I see us in different weight sizes over time. And I'm also looking at our guest, Mr. Nepo, and he's probably like thinking, what did he get himself into over here with these two people? He's a man who writes wonderful spiritual books and information about the soul and the heart and all that. And you got two clods from New York here looking like we should be arrested.
You see, how deep down we have soul and we have heart. So I don't,
underneath.
Don't let the exterior could fool you. Mm-hmm. But if you're around us, we're okay. Right?
That's a very good point. That is a very good point because people will take us as maybe not being the sharpest knife in the drawer in some ways, but we do have another side that's we're kind of like, we're kind of like buried treasure. Like treasure, you like almost like buried in dog do. And all of a sudden you open it, you step in, you're like, ew, but wait a minute, look what's in there. Oh, whoa, wait a minute. There's gold coins. How are you doing?
Compare it. You couldn't bury us in something other than crap.
I said dog do. I was being very kind. I was being very.
It's just like, we just you got to at the surface we got one thing, but as you get into us, you know that we're good people, we're caring people, compassionate people, common sense people.
That's very true. That's very true.
Which works out.
Now that we've stroked both of our egos to a large extent, now that our narcissistic rant is done, first of all, I should bring this guy right on. But I just wanted to say, how are you? We haven't spoken in a while here. How are you guys doing? Everything okay in Mikey Sausage Land?
Everything is going well. Just moving along. Just things get back to normal here and there, and then they don't, and then they get back, and then they don't, and just try to live my best life and enjoy myself. I don't know. I sent you something. Did you see that? And obviously I've been sleeping because in July there was like this huge fight in this pizzeria in Williamsburg. Did you see this thing? I sent you
saw the clip. I didn't watch it yet. I didn't watch it.
Apparently it was 3 a.m. in Williamsburg, which already tells you that
why is there a pizzeria open? Why is a pizzeria open in Williamsburg?
For drunk people to come eat pizza at 3 a.m., right? So it's a great concept because you can make a lot of money. I know a lot of guys that do it, but then you also have that problem of
security.
That thing. So obviously this whole thing, you got to watch. It's on YouTube. Just put Joe's Pizzeria Brawl, and here it is. He's got look at these guys go. Watch this. Now the guy's got the thing. He puts the pizza in the wooden thing to the right. Now watch as this progresses. Right? Watch the guy out to the right. This guy look at him going. Boom.
Whoa. People
now
that
thing breaks, and he gets the pizza ladle with the sauce, and he gets the pizzas. Now he goes to the ladle. Now keep watching to the right. He's hitting them with this like light tin ladle. Look, there goes the ladle.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy. And what's funny is that we're laughing. What's even funny is why is it that what is that conflict over?
No, and then the funniest sound in the whole thing is the guy that's actually filming it. He turns around. He says, "I still didn't get my pizza." He's waiting there for his pizza.
The world is upside down.
But apparently, the guy in the black shirt got arrested, and now he's got a lawyer, and he says he wants the film from inside the pizzeria because he said he didn't start anything. So I don't know if that's been, worked out or whatever. But I just saw that today. I just thought it was so crazy was
the two
going
guys
on.
were drunk and harassing a customer is what it
Yeah,
was.
they're supposed to be harassing some woman. They said they were bothering a girl, and the guy stuck up for him, and blah blah blah. You know how
All
that
right, yeah.
goes.
Well, I know because I mean, I've hit people with pizza paddles for lesser, so I assume.
No, but I'm thinking if I'm in this pizzeria, right, and somebody starts with a girl, I'm
Right.
involved.
I would do the same thing if a woman was. And by
I'm,
the way, we're old school because the average person today, first, a lot of men today are not very manly. Number one,
yeah,
and they're not old school, and a lot of people don't want to get involved in anything too. But if I saw a woman being abused, I think I would step in as well.
Yeah, I'd be in trouble because I wouldn't worry about ladles and the pizza
Yeah.
thing and the wood thing. I just put them right in the oven. That fix everything.
Hey, speaking of videos, I haven't sent. I don't know if I sent it to you, and I don't want to get into videos here because I want to bring on Mark Nepo. But I will tell you, I have a video, and it's horrifically funny. There's two gorillas, I think, at the Sacramento Zoo. I have it, and I've sent it around. And I was going to put it up on my Facebook page and write a joke about it. Then I figured I would probably get chucked off and thrown in jail again, so I didn't do it. But it's two gorillas, a smaller and a bigger and a larger gorilla, and there's families all around the fence going, "Oh, the gorilla," and they're all like saying, "Oh, it's so beautiful and it's so nice." And suddenly, the smaller gorilla lays on his back, and the other gorilla proceeds to do fellatio on on the other gorilla. And I have to tell you, and everyone's like, "Oh no, oh no, oh go now!" They take the children away and everything, and it's just piece of nature happening in front of a whole bunch of bystanders, and it's just hilarious. And I wrote all these jokes for it, and I thought I'm going to get in trouble, so I just left it alone. But to watch this video unfold is hilarious.
No, but the husband said to the wife, "Listen, son, this is what your mother doesn't do."
Don't even go there. Don't even go.
All right, let's go. Bring this guy on. We're gonna get in trouble.
That's terrible. Yeah, we're gonna get in trouble. I just found it fascinating to see people horrified by nature that they came to enjoy. It's an irony, a paradoxical irony. Anyway, I am so looking forward to speak to this gentleman because I've read his book, and this man is a peaceful warrior, in my opinion, who I don't think you and I could actually wrap our heads around how he thinks because he's peaceful, easygoing, is able to write poems and poetry and come up with all these great sayings. He's a deep person. He's very deep.
So basically, he could order pizza at 3 a.m. and not get into a fight.
He would not have fought. I have a feeling he would have avoided this conflict and walked out of there scar-free.
And hungry.
Thank you. Our guest tonight, his name is Mark Nepo, and Mark is, and I have his bio here, and I'll just briefly say a couple things about it that are really wonderful. Mark has moved and inspired readers and seekers all over the world with his #1 New York Times bestseller, The Book of Awakening. Beloved as a poet, a teacher, and a storyteller, Mark has been called an impassioned seeker, an eloquent spiritual teacher. His work is widely accessible and used by many. Of his books have been translated into more than 20 languages. He's a best-selling author, and he is a best-selling author. He's published 22 books and recorded 15 audio projects, and Mark was part of Oprah Winfrey's The Life You Want tour in 2014, and he's appeared several times with Oprah on the SuperSoul Sunday program on OWN or OWN TV, and he's also been interviewed by Robin Roberts on Good Morning America, and he's been given a Life Achievement Award by AgeNation. So, and there's more, and there's much more. But basically, he's a spiritual writer, and he explains how to live an authentic life. And he's an author of the New York Times #1 bestseller, The Book of Awakening. And I am so happy to have him here. So please welcome our guest that we enjoy, Mark Nepo. And there he comes right in. There you go.
Great to be with you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. And I apologize for our crude humor before bringing you on because we're just...
No, not at all. Not at all. No.
We never know where we're going.
And also that introduction, whatever ego you built up in the beginning, PZ, is absolutely gone right now.
It's shut down.
You've kind of like, You put me down. That's it. I'm gone.
I mean, but this is the top and the bottom. So he's hanging out with Oprah doing these interviews, and now he's at the bottom. Mark is at the bottom right now. He's like, I got to cut this thing quick and get out. Hey, so Mark, in all seriously, I really do thank you for coming. I did read your book, and I was really super. One of my biggest influences in growing up was Dr. Wayne Dyer. I read every single one of his books. He was a huge inspiration to me. I met him once in Florida, and huge inspiration to me. I thought he was like one of the greatest seers of our time. And then so after reading your book, it's a whole different head on spirituality and wisdom and learning how to go inside. So, and a lot of the people in our audience may not really understand. I want to take you at a rudimentary level into what we're doing. I want to start at the beginning. I know you had a really crazy adjustment in your life that created who you are today. If you don't mind to start there with us and let the audience know where you came from.
Sure. So, well, just to give a sense here, just this past year, I turned 70. And when I saw people my age when I was younger, I thought they were ancient. It doesn't seem so old now. But in my mid 30s, I had a rare form of lymphoma and went on a 3-year journey that, almost killed me. And I was turned inside out and upside down. I'm Jewish by heritage, and I have a great tie to the Jewish tradition. But, I came out of that journey being a student of all paths. I was blessed to have people during that time from every faith and tradition. And I mean widely, not just the traditional paths, but, I had Native American people and Sufis and scientists and agnostics and atheists. I was blessed to have people kindly helping me. And when I was still here on the other side, I was not and am still not wise enough to know what worked and what didn't. And so I've been challenged to believe in everything. And all my books and all my teaching, all my work is, I feel, a deep commitment to what I see as the common center of all paths, the unique gifts of each. And it's the cancer survivor in me that's very attuned to, okay, how do we make use of this? It's no good if we can't use it in our daily life.
So
Now, there's many people.
Hold on, Pete. So what you're saying is you don't understand how you survived. Is that basically what you said?
Yeah, I'm not wise enough to figure. We can talk about it, but I don't have any answers. What I share are examples, not instructions. We're all in this together.
What about the doctors? What about the doctors? What do they say?
Well, I was so let me get more specific about my journey, because I had good doctors and I had terrible doctors. I had great nurses and I had terrible nurses, probably like anybody. But when I was in, like I said, my early 30s, and I had a tumor growing in my skull bone on this side of my head, and it grew to the size of a grapefruit. It was pressing on my brain and protruding outward. And honestly, my former wife at the time, we actually were going through 2 different cancers at the same time. And so I was focused on her, and it didn't hurt. And I didn't pay much attention until an old friend stopped me and said, I don't know how to tell you this, but you're growing a second head. You better get that checked out. And I went, what are you talking about? And I went to a doctor and was thrown into this journey that changed everything. So I'll give you 2 examples of doctors. So I had a doctor who was a neurosurgeon. I was all set up because of this huge tumor to have a craniotomy. That was brain surgery. And the only, problem was that I would likely have memory loss and speech problems, which for me is like knees to a quarterback, right?
Right.
So, but he saved my life. He was the first one to save my life because I had a sense that this tumor was fluctuating. And he was the only one who would believe me. Everybody else said that's wishful thinking, that they don't do that, sorry. And he was the only one. And I was scheduled to have this craniotomy the next morning at 7 a.m. And he came in at 11 o'clock that night and said, you know, I've done hundreds of these, but something's going on here that's different. I want to do one more test, so I'm going to send you home for a week. And I was like spit out of the mouth of the whale, like Jonah. All of a sudden, I was thrown, back on the street, back home. I came back in a week later. The test didn't help. And then I had an open biopsy where I had to be awake, and he took a sample of what was going on. And that's when it was discovered as a rare form of lymphoma. So he was the first angel. But to give you the other side, so then I was turned over to the world of oncology. And so the first oncologist I met, and I won't give his name because I'm not going to say nice things about him. So I'm waiting in a room. My whole life is upside down. Before this guy says hello, he comes in, looks at the chart, and he says, well, even if you beat this in 7 to 14 years, it'll get you. That's before hello. Well, it's 34 years later, and I'm still here. But until I reached year 14, I heard his voice in my head on bad days. And so you have one who was a healer, and you have another one who had that was not
No
in
empathy.
his province. I had no empathy, and he had no right to give an opinion on what he didn't know. Nobody knew. And it only did harm to play God. So I don't, and it's interesting because on the other side, when I would meet people, I've always met people who want to claim the miracle that I'm still here for their partial understanding of healing. So people who believe in mind over matter want to say to me, boy, you sure did it. Look what you did, mind over matter. I can't tell you it was mind over matter. Or somebody believes in Jesus. Boy, Jesus got you through. I can't. It was everything. It was something larger than me. So this is the first kind of spiritual lesson, if you will. I would say that if you believe in anything larger than yourself, you're a mystic. We only get into arguments when we start trying to define what's larger than us. Oh, it's Allah, it's Jesus, it's Moses, it's none of that. It's science, it's nature, it's nothing. An atheist believes in something larger than themselves. They call it nothing. I call it everything. We can still talk.
Those are words of wisdom.
The reason I asked you that, I got you. The reason I asked you that was because last April I contracted COVID, and I got it pretty. I got it pretty bad, and I was put on a ventilator. And this is April 2020. And I just went back to the doctor for antibody check and my lung check and everything. And so at this point, they're pretty far along. So from April 2020 till now, it's been a lot. So the doctor proceeded to tell me, he said, I was on a ventilator for 7 days, and obviously I'm here. I survived.
Boy,
so
I'm
he was saying,
okay.
I was going over your case with a whole team of doctors, about 50 of us. And I brought up March, April, May, and June in the hospital that you were in. And they were looking at all the patients that were putting on a ventilator in that time. And it was 7,652 people on a ventilator at that time. And 4 people survived. 4. Me, a 65-year-old man, and 2 90-year-olds. Okay? Now, he said the COVID that I had was probably the worst case of COVID that he's ever seen. I mean, I went into the hospital and my oxygen saturation was 59 for 2 days.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And they gave me at that time it was hydroxychloroquine and whatever they gave me, they gave to these other 7,000 people. Right. And he said to me, every doctor does not understand how you live. He said, You were the worst COVID. I had triathletes. I had 35-year-olds. I had guys in 10 times better shape than you. You lived and they didn't. And I can't explain it. And I can't explain it medically. He says, so I have to believe in something different. And I never, ever would said those words before. And this is what he said. That's why I asked you, what,
Yeah.
what I
And,
did.
Mikey, I'm glad you're okay. And what a journey, I mean,
Yeah.
and I think, and it's very humbling because I know that, but for a hiccup of God or the universe, I would be gone and you'd be talking to someone else today. And yeah, I don't know what to attribute that to. It's just there's a mystery to life is such a fragile miracle. It's such a
Yeah.
fragile miracle.
And
We're
it gets
incredibly
even like it got like weirdly deeper. So this is April, and now I just saw the doctor again, and he went like, aha, like after I told him this. And if it could be true, maybe it's not. So April 2020, January 2021, I have one younger sister, 15 years younger than me. So January 2021, my dad passes away. He got COVID and passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
September 11th, my mom passed away.
Oh, gee.
So both my mother and my father passed, and now my little sister, who looks up to me like I'm her world, right? So the doctor said, "Hey, maybe somebody knew that your father was going to go and then your mother was going to go, but he didn't want to take all 3 years in 1 year, and he left you here for a reason." I don't know if that's true, untrue, but this is how people think, So
Yeah.
it makes you kind of think, right? I mean,
It makes you feel better, if anything, but I don't know if that's the case. But it makes you feel
I
better
don't
because
know.
we're adding logic on top of we're looking at it synergistic. We're looking at it logically in steps of like, well, look what happened. It worked this way well for you because it would, if it went any other way, it would have been worse. I don't know if that's a really, even though it tastes good, I don't know if that's right to swallow. But
I don't know.
to your point, like Mark is saying, though, it's a catalyst for change and behavior and thinking about life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things from my cancer journey that has really came to me at the beginning of the pandemic was because I think this has happened to the whole world. When I went and got diagnosed, I walked into a doctor's office, and I knew something was going on, but I really didn't think I had cancer or something life-threatening. And I walked in. I was told I had cancer. I was afraid. I was all over the place, and I thought, you got to have the wrong folder. This can't be me, But when I got up to leave that office, the door I had come through to keep that appointment was gone. There was no way back to life before that appointment. And I feel like that's what COVID has done to all of humanity. The old world is gone. Much as we want it, there's some things will seem similar, but we need each other to look at what's coming and how do we go forward, because there's no going back.
How does
go
ahead, Sausage? No, go ahead.
No, I just said I was just wondering. You figure something like COVID, so you go. I think about disasters like 9/11 and stuff brought everybody together, right? Everybody was American. Everybody was against something. Everybody was helping each other, and even simple. I remember days of blackouts when I was younger in the city. Everybody would sit outside with candles, and the neighbors would talk, and we had stuff in the refrigerator that was going to go bad, and we would share it, and it brought everybody together. It seems like I said, now COVID hit. I said, maybe this is going to, after that tumultuous few years that we had in the country, I figured maybe this is going to be a catalyst to bring people together. And it's actually just done the complete opposite. It's just really just ripping people, who's vaccinated, who's unvaccinated, who's doing this. It's just gotten out of hand.
Well, is that the people, or is that the media and the agenda pushing?
That's what I'm saying. So
I think
obviously,
people.
whoever has the most power to gain people's ears has a very giant responsibility to try to bring everybody together, because they could easily divide you, right? So,
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Mark.
I think that if we look throughout history, every generation has its version of COVID or World War II or the Dust Bowl back in the 30s. It sounds trite, but this every person in every generation, we're kind of faced with choosing between love and fear. And if we let fear control us, then we start pushing each other away. There's just case after case after case. And yet, yeah, what makes one person push everybody away and think, oh, well, self-preservation, self-interest is going to save me. But then there's the whole other side where we realize when we suffer, oh man, we're more together than alone. We're not getting out of this unless we do it together. And then our hearts are open. And once our hearts are open, they don't close again. They just get bigger and more open. And we are in our turn in our lifetime. Let me tell you a little parable, a little story, a little parable about two Buddhist monks, and they're studying long and hard because they've been told if they study real hard, one day they'll have an appointment with Buddha on top of a mountain. So they're really studying. So the day comes and they start going up the mountain, and halfway up, one of them breaks his leg. So the other one said, okay, we'll spend the night. I'll make him comfortable, but I'm not going to miss my appointment with Buddha. And well, the next morning, he's not doing too well, the guy who broke his leg. He's got a fever, and it's obvious you just can't leave him there. It's not that simple. So now the parable stops there, and the question is, what would you do? What would I do? And what this parable points up is when we have more people in any age or era that would keep their appointment at the top of the mountain over caring for the person who's broken next to them, we are engendering cruelty. When we have more people who will stop and discover that tending their broken other is the summit of the mountain, we have an age of compassion. And we face these choices every day. And there are just as many people who are helping, like you're saying, as are not helping. And we don't need a good news station. We need whole news so that it's right-sized. Because I also feel like in the modern world, we are addicted to the noise of things falling apart. When things fall apart, they make a lot of noise. When things come together, it's quieter. Things are always coming together and always falling apart. But, we get, right, when I was young, when we didn't have 900 cables, we just had the major stations, the weather report was called the weather report. Now it's called Storm Watch. Well, yeah, last I knew, storm was only one form of weather. And then we get, we get estranged from the unknown. We've been challenged to get more intimate and have courage around the unknown. Right? We don't know what caused this. We don't know what saved you, what saved me.
I mean, it's true. I have a 19-year-old and a 15-year-old daughter, and I don't think they watch what I call regular television, maybe but a dozen or so times in their life, or maybe there's one show they watch with their mother or whatever, but they watch on their phones and YouTube and this and that. So one time I made them sit down to watch like 11 o'clock news or 6 o'clock news or something like that. And they watched it with me, and because I wanted to, see what they felt about it. And I said, so what's your opinion? She said, I would never watch that again. And the little one said, I would never watch. I said, why? She goes, everything they say is bad. They want to tell you about everything that's bad that happened everywhere else. He goes, who wants to watch something that's everything bad? I'd rather watch something in the video that's funny and makes me feel good.
Look who's talking. You and I just talking about 2 seconds ago, the guy getting beat up at the pizzeria and the monkey love.
No, but it's funny. It was funny to me.
But this is one of the
I
things about, there's nothing wrong innately with technology. It's a great tool. Look at this. We can just, be together like this. But if we don't have an inner life, like I don't mean having things figured out, but if we don't meet the world with an open heart and an open mind, then the way water fills a hole, the characteristics of the modern world will become our value. So you take technology, it's split focused, it's fast, it's always trying to tell us that life is over there. Oh, I just missed it. Life is over there. Oh, if I could be like that, or if I could have a relationship like that, or if I could catch up to that. Well, all the spiritual traditions throughout history tell us there is no there, there's only here. Life is exactly where you are if you have the courage to open your heart and inhabit it. It's not over the horizon, it's right here. And so, you look at, like, for instance, the media. I think it's amazing that the media, we can know stuff instantly from around the world. However, the challenge or liability is, like, I remember, when 9/11, my wife and I, we were coming back from Montreal, and we were packing our bags in the hotel room, waiting for our friends to get their bags, when we saw those planes live go into the towers. Well, you all know, right? We've seen those images hundreds and hundreds of times. So I think the value of modern media is for 100 different people to see it once. I don't need to see it 1,000 times. I need to see it once. And my inner responsibility is to let it in and feel it and stop watching it the other 999 times. Because
That's,
then,
that's
yeah.
let me just pause a second.
It's hard.
I just want to pause there a second. You said, because this hit me really strongly as you said this, and I'm wondering if the metaphor that you said is actually meant what I'm thinking, or am I going deeper than what you said? You said the way water fills a hole, and when visually, I'm visually picturing water filling a hole, and the water fills the hole the way the hole is created. If the hole is
Yeah.
long, it goes long. If it's short, wide, whatever, you can only fill it to the way. So you meant that metaphor saying water filling a hole, meaning that no matter
Me,
what we create in our lives.
well, meaning that if I'm not me, if I don't have my inwardness, my open heart, our relationships, if I don't meet the world, if I don't come out of myself, and that doesn't mean I'm going to be a big partier or a gregarious. I'm not talking about that. If I'm not present and leaning into life, then whatever forces in life are going to fill me like water filling a hole. So if I don't have a way of being present and saying, like, when I'm listening to you guys, if I'm listening to you, I'm not distracted, I'm focused, I'm here. Life is not out there, it's right here between us, three of us right now. If I don't do that, then all the speed of the world, all the distraction from everything being turned in a difficult, negative way, that starts to fill me. That fills me up the way water will just fill any hole. So we have the choice, but it's also true, John. You just added another dimension to that metaphor, because what we carve out, the shape that we make
Right.
of our life is the shape we will be filled.
That's the point I was thinking that you were saying with the water fill the hole, because I'm picturing like if I was making a cupcake and I pour the batter in the mold, the cupcake comes out the way the mold is what I filled, the whole, the space that I put the mold in, that the information goes into. And so that you're saying that we need to carve out our own spaces to be what we want to be fulfilled with.
Yeah, and this also opens up a whole thing about whether we're parents or we're just, have an influential place in other people's lives. We often, without realizing it, like my father, who's gone now, but he was a master woodworker, and so he taught me about a lot about tools. But we often don't realize it. But we teach someone how to use a screwdriver. We also tell them what to build with it.
Hmm.
That
That's a great point.
that's that no, okay. we teach someone how to use it, and you say, use your creativity and build what you care about. You don't have to build what I care about. So we often inadvertently, we tell someone, this is how you use a hammer, and this is the proper thing to build with a hammer, rather than
That's a great point.
encouraging them, yeah, with their own. You build what you're going to build. What do you care about? Use the hammer and screwdriver the way you want.
Let, can,
There's a
let me
yeah, go ahead.
let me just ask you two quick questions, because I'm thinking about everything that you've been through. I read some of your book, and one of the things I keep thinking about, a large thing in your book about fear and love. Do you have fear in your life currently? Do you have fear? Fear of getting sick again, fear of
Oh,
not living,
sure.
fear of being broke, fear of not being popular, fear of people not buying your book. And then that leads me to the second question of, besides, do you have fear? Do you care about your success? Of course, you need to make a living, but it's important to you at this point. I mean, you've been through a
Yeah.
lot.
So
What is important to you, and is fear? And if you're not fear based, how are you living
that's a
your life? Yeah.
great questions. Thank you for that. Because that's real. Those are very real questions. So of course I have fear in my life. I think one of the things I don't believe we can't rid ourselves of fear. We can only right size it. So fear. Um, I've come to believe that fear is to be moved through, not obeyed. If when I'm afraid, if I ask my fear, what should I do? My fear is going to say, be more afraid. I don't ask my fear. I ask my heart. I ask my head. I ask my loved ones. I say, I'm afraid. Help me get through this. It's natural. So one of the things for me that, of course, like a war vet, you know, someone, and I'm sure probably Mikey, you feel it already with COVID. It's like when you've been through something like that, there's a little bit of PTSD. Like, it's been 35 years still. I go for an annual checkup. They put me in one of those little rooms. If I'm there more than 5 minutes, forget it. I'm sweating. I could be in any one of a dozen places where I went through stuff that was not fun. So, and then they take my blood pressure. I've started to ask them, take it when I'm leaving, not when I come in. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm glad to be out of here. Take it then. So, what I've learned about fear, and this was a big lesson in the beginning, because when I was in my 30s and I was all suddenly in the hospital, I was afraid of everything. I was afraid of everything. And so I met on a scale of 1 to 10, everything that I met, I was like 14. And not through any wisdom on my part, I exhausted my heart. I couldn't do it. I had to start discerning. Okay, a nurse is coming in. I'm going to have to do a test. I don't like it. Is it really a 14 on 1 to 10? No. Maybe it's a 5 today, because I had to save my energy for the real 10s. So I started to have to really see things as they are, which is a Buddhist precept. It's one of the simplest and hardest practices of all. Can you see things? Because once you see things as they are, you've got real choices. So am I afraid today? Well, I mentioned I'm 70, thank God I'm well. But, having all that trauma 30 years ago, well, now I'm at an age like, okay, well, we're all getting older.
There's
What
less in
now?
front of you than behind you.
Yeah.
Right.
What
Yeah.
now? And so I've had to, because of what I went through, I've always seen wellness and illness as, if everything's okay, I'm well. If anything is out of the ordinary, something's wrong. Well, as I get older, there's creaks and aches, and everything that happens that's out of the ordinary is not bad. It's just getting old. And I've had to say, I can't look at it the same way, because it triggers me into too much fear. It triggers me. So and then I'll get to the second question. Let me tell you, this is a profound little story that's an ancient Hindu teaching story, all the way anonymous. And it talks about how we meet fear and pain. So there's a master and an apprentice. And the truth is, the master thinks the apprentice is really annoying, because all this guy does is complain, complain, complain. So he says to the apprentice, I want you to get a handful of salt, put it in a glass of water, and bring it to me quietly. I don't want to hear you complaining. So he does. He says, okay, drink from the glass. The apprentice does. He spits it out. The master says, what's the matter? He says, it's bitter. Master says, get the same exact amount of salt, put it in your hands, and follow me quietly. So he does. The master leads him to a lake. He says, put the salt in the lake. He does. He says, drink. He kneels down. He scoops the water. It dribbles from his chin. He says, well. And the apprentice says, it's fresh. And the master looks at the apprentice and says, stop being a glass, become a lake.
That's a wonderful
Stop
story.
being a glass, become a lake. That ancient anonymous, right? And what's so powerful about that story, everybody gets their handful of salt. Nobody gets through life without their handful of salt. We might get it all at once. We might get it a grain at a time. But you cannot eliminate fear and pain, but you can right size it. So if you stay a glass, not only will it hurt and you'll be afraid, but you'll get bitter. So when we are faced with fear and so you might hear that story and say, well, it's not good to be a glass. I won't do that. Oh, yes, all of us will because we're human. That's how pain and fear say hello. So when faced with that, one of the only things we can do, become a lake, enlarge our sense of things. So the question becomes, for everyone, what's in your toolbox to enlarge your sense of things? What do you go to? Do you talk to a friend? Do you read? Do you listen to music? You go for a walk in the woods? Do you make a dinner for loved one? What do you do? Do you laugh? Humor, exactly.
Humor is everything to me.
So what's in your toolbox? And this is, some of the things that I try to work with people. I can't tell anyone how, but I can help people discover their own gifts and their own wisdom. So the second question about success, I was blessed with a hard gift of almost dying. So, and like any artist, years ago, I wasn't known for my work wasn't known. And I've been blessed that now my work is known. And you know what? I'm grateful as I am. It has nothing to do with the real work. When I was unknown. Yeah, I mean, it's wonderful because look, how we wouldn't have been able to meet. I'm grateful for this, but it's not. We're taught like success is like climbing a mountain. Well, almost dying has taught me no. Life is like this. We're all the same 6 inches from heaven in the gutter. Okay. And it's more
welcome to our show. When you came on the show, I kept thinking to myself, this is going to be really strange tonight because I was thinking like this is like the Jersey Shore meets the Dalai Lama.
Oh no,
but you know what? I think a lot of people. First of all, if you don't fear anything, you don't love anything, right? So that's something I believe. I don't know if I fear death. I mean, I do fear death because I love life. I enjoy myself. So I like I like everything. It's I like being here. So, but like with other things, like even with people in my life, it could be sister, wife, kids, something. My sister goes for a test and said, "Oh, they see something. What do you think it is?" They said it could be this, that could be this. And I'm like, whoa. Time out. Okay, let's look at it. You got something? You're going to check it further. You want to be concerned? Be concerned. But don't go insane because you don't know. So let's be concerned. Let's live life. Let's be okay. And let's go there and see what we have. When we know what we have, now we can create a plan to attack if it is a problem or if it isn't a problem. So
you're a logical man.
But getting there before is not going to help you for the 2 weeks before. You're going to go.
And the woman, and Mikey,
insane.
the woman's going to say to you, "You don't care about me."
No. That's that's what anybody, man, women, anything. There are people that do it, and I'm always like that. I've always been like that. I've never. I said, okay, this is what we have, because I believe there's a solution for almost anything. So until you know the problem, you can't solve it.
Well, and I
So
think that there's a lot of wisdom in what you're sharing, and I think the other side that is that when people, like, no one chooses to be afraid, right? No one says, I'm going to sign up for that. Let me be afraid today. So the thing is that I agree with you that the hardest thing is to stay where you are. And that's what I mean about we have to become more intimate with the unknown and not run one way or the other. And when loved ones get afraid and get worried, we have to have, I feel for me, I have to have the compassion to help calm them down, because as logical as that is, once you've fallen in the rabbit hole, you might as well be, even though I agree with you, you might as well be on Mars until you can help hold someone until they're calmed down enough that they can restart to take that in. To restart
Yeah,
to
but
take that in.
you got to know their personality too, because if they see me start to do that, then they're going to get more nervous and say he knows something I don't know. So like, if I'm not myself, like everybody knows me, like so, like if like my sister complained to my wife or something, said, "Listen, Michael, he doesn't want to go over something 35 times over and over and over if nothing is there yet." So he's just gonna. He said, "Oh, he got nasty." He's just gonna get frustrated because you keep going back to the same thing. But listen, I have compassion for people, but you also, I blame Google. Google is the worst thing ever created. You go on Google and you look something up,
Oh
you have
yeah,
48.
You're
You got
dead.
48 diseases. Yeah,
yeah,
I got
it's
cancer.
true.
I got this. I got that's crazy.
Hey, Mark. One of the, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you this question because reading your book, this
Sure.
is something that really sticks with me and everybody. I think a lot of people would wonder this. And can you tell for the average user, what does it mean to be present in the moment? Because being present is such a difficult thing to quiet our minds down and be present. So I'm wondering, like, what is your explanation
Yeah.
of being present? And then secondly to that, I'm also wondering, uh, can you tell us how to get there? And is there
Well, I
stages
can
for it?
share. Let me speak to that. Yeah, thank you. So to be present, and this is like there's so many distractions, even more in the modern world. Like I was saying earlier, that try to tell us that life isn't where we are. I got to run, I got to work or run or do something to get where it matters. And then great love and great suffering either stop us in our tracks or knock us down. And then we realize, or I realize for me, um, there's nowhere to go. It's all right here. It's not about going from here to there. It's about coming from in to out. And that's what the deepest experiences in life, both wonderful and difficult, do for us. They make us realize where we are. So being present is trying to not be swept away mentally and emotionally by everything that's pulling you from where you are. So how do we, how do we do that? Like you were just saying, Mikey, about worry. Worry. You start scripting out. Oh no, this, that, everything. Here we go. Well, this is where all the different traditions first off speak about meditation practices. All that is, in all of them, no matter how they do it, is breathing so that you return to where you are. And try not to clutch on to whatever the worry or the fear or the distraction is. Drop it and come back here. Drop it and come back here. And so for me, the ways that I try to stay present are I will give my full attention to the nearest detail. It could be a piece of a broken glass bottle in an alley that the light happens to hit. We've all had these moments where all of a sudden we see something or light on a tree, or we hear a certain, and we go, whoa, it seems a little more alive or extra special. Well, it's always like that. We're just in tune. So follow it. When you're in tune with something, give your attention to whatever is near you completely, and it will start to be your teacher. So that means to me, don't hold back, lean in. Life, the difficult things in life, like surf, like undertow, pushes us away, and our job is then lean back in, drop whatever. I have a small poem of mine called Practicing, which goes like this: as a man in his last breath drops all he is carrying, each breath is a little death that can set us free. As a man in his last breath drops all he is carrying, each breath is a little death that can set us free. Whatever's tangling us up, we have the next breath to say, drop it. Because I don't know about you, then I'll pause there, but let me just say this last thing, and then that is, and it's just that goes to what you were saying about going over things. That's a worry and fear make it like if I'm going over something in my mind, my fear tells me if I go over it one more time, I might be able to figure it out or feel better. It never works. It never works. The only thing that works is dropping it. Drop it.
Drop. That's hard. But Peasy, can you meditate?
I have, but I don't think I'm.
You have?
Yes, especially many years ago, more so
Really?
than today. I'm constantly
cannot-
accused of not being in the moment because I'm projecting what I need to do. Like my wife by the way, I used to do, an idiot, and but my this morning, my wife said to me, she's like, I'm like, oh yeah, Friday I have to go to Connecticut, and then I have to go to New Hampshire, and I got to go here, and then I have to drive overnight, and then I have to do this, I have to get a hotel. And my wife like, you're never in the moment. And I said, you're right. But on the other hand, I said, you have to prepare for the future. You can't just wait till this day comes and get a hotel and it's not only available. You have to prepare. So even though you may be, futurizing somewhat, it's important to I guess there's a balance between futurizing and being in the moment. And as far as meditating, I'm supposed to be able to calm you down enough so you can make these choices in a more effective way. I found it to be difficult to shut my mind off.
Well,
even when I wake up,
I can't shut my head off. My brain can't
100 miles an hour, right? Yes, me too.
I can't do. I don't know why.
I bet you Mark has his brain quieted a lot. I could tell you, you can't write these beautiful books.
Well, thank you. Well, I think that like what you're both saying. So, John, like what you're saying about, I think we do have to move through the world and make plans and be thoughtful. And then the challenge is once the plans are made, enter this journey. Enter the journey and forget about the plans unless you got to change them, But I also think like meditating, it's not just the formal meditation. Like for me, even though I've done formal meditation in my life, the times that work the best for me, I swim. That's my exercise now. And I started it 15 years ago for aerobic stuff, but it's really a moving meditation for me. I get into the water and I'm moving and I stop thinking. And so it could be, you loosely, like not holding formal, like whatever brings you joy. If you're gardening or you're doing something, or if you want to fix car, whatever it is, when you're involved and all of a sudden you say, where'd the last hour go?
Yeah, that happens when I play the piano. When I play the piano, hours fly. Yeah.
That's a moving meditation.
That's kind of that's a very different way of looking at it that I never even thought about. So like obviously when you're swimming, I mean that's true. You're doing something, you're not thinking about what you're thinking about that one. I don't know swimming what you could be thinking about besides do you think about
that's the whole point.
Arms? Do you think
that's it. Like I could go over like thinking about a book I'm working on or something or whatever, or thinking about the travel that's coming up. But then something about moving through the water and feeling the water.
It's a physical meditation. I think
and then I'm not going over the thoughts anymore.
Isn't there something called Sufi dancers? They do meditation to Sufi dancing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a
Absolutely. Whirling
good thing.
dervishes.
Do you
Yeah.
do you think by any chance the
Yeah,
guy in the
really.
pizzeria was meditating with a spatula in his hand?
I'm just.
Well,
I
right.
think.
This,
Go ahead.
people
Go ahead.
act out. And this is the thing about, people when people are not centered and grounded, then we act out and we push away anything. There's a big difference. When we're afraid, we see anything different as threatening. When we're centered in love, we see anything different as adding to thank God you're not like me. Teach me what I don't know. So when we're afraid, and we see this a lot today, is we look to confirm what we already know. That's not education. Education is no matter what I know, I want to learn more. I want to learn
Oh
new.
yeah.
I want
That's my mantra. I love asking questions. I love people that know things on other subjects, and that I mean, people. Even like I'm with my family. They say, "Man, you asking so many questions." I said, "How am I? I want to learn. I want to know more about what this person is an expert in or knows about." And because honestly, I've been that my whole life since I'm maybe 10, 11, 12 years old. They would say, man, this kid asks questions on questions on questions. But I'll tell you something, as you drop me in a room full of people, I could pretty much carry a conversation on a lot of different subjects just on the questions that I've asked and the information I've received. And people say, how do you know that? I said, I just retain it because I asked the question. PC will tell you, I'll ask a million. I love it. Well, it's this and this. What about that? What I love that. I think it's the greatest thing in the world. Learning more and more and more. You can't give me enough. Can't give me
No,
enough.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Information maniac. Information. Hey,
Oh, I love it.
Then on another, and I don't mean to change gears because we have such a short time. I mean, we need to really do a deep dive with Mark Nepo because this is not really fair. It's like I have 50 questions that we have. I only did 3. But I want to just real quickly, I guess, on these questions because I thought they were really important and they're important to me, and I would hope that to others as well. Tell me about your feelings on 2 subjects, I guess, in a shorter way, and honesty and also jealousy, because those are 2 things that in this world that we all experience in different ways.
Yeah. So first, let's talk. Let me talk about the jealousy first,
Mm-hmm.
because as I was mentioning, that one of the menacing assumptions that so is difficult for all of us is the assumption that life is not where we are; it's over there. Wherever you think there is, it's a dream of the future, or it's like I'm alone, I'm divorced, I see a couple walk across the street, I write a story in my head. They look happy, they look beautiful. If I could only be like that, right? So we do this all the time. Well, jealousy is that notion that what somebody else has, I want. I want, even in terms, not even just romantically, but, like looking at somebody else's talent and saying, oh, this person is, that's a musician who looks at somebody else who's got a, whatever, a platinum gold album and saying, God, I want that. And then the next thing is, rather than finding in your own life where life lives in your own talent, then that's what gets toxic is, they shouldn't have that. I should have that. How did they get that? They don't deserve that. I deserve. You see what it's escalated.
I've had that in my earlier life. In my earlier life, I felt that way very often.
Yeah, but
Well,
as I told my kids, jealousy only affects the person who's jealous, right? Doesn't affect the other person because they never feel it. So like you write all these books, and how easy it's like. When someone's able to write a book, I'm in awe of that because it's not something that I've never tried, but I'm not sure I'm capable of. but I'm not jealous of that person. I'm in awe of it. And if I wanted to do it, I would sit down and try it and learn how to do it and try to get to that point. I'm not going to be
Well,
jealous of somebody.
yeah, and so I think what this and all of these things we've been talking about are related. So when we can be more, so if I feel a sense of jealousy, or I wish that I could be more like that person, whatever's going on, if I'm the only place to go is inward, back to that hole that the water fills. What am I creating that I can fill in life? Where am I finding my own self-worth? Where am I finding my own authority of being, which comes from being connected to the authority of all being? So if I feel something like that, what this gets to the honesty, the self-honesty is they don't have anything that I can get or that I can't find within myself. I have to inhabit my life more fully and be honest about what's keeping me from being all of who I am. That's the real work. And the jealousy is a distraction. Jealousy is kind of going sideways and not looking at the real issue. The real issue is, where are my inborn capacities? So when I see people, or I've seen people in my life that I admire, they're an inspiration to me to say, where does that live in me? What do I have to learn, and how do I grow to not be them, but to have that inspire me to be me? So I think honesty.
Go ahead.
Well, honesty is, and I want to tie this to authenticity, because being authentic and real is I feel the only way to be fully alive. To be fully alive. And so it's a practice.
My grandfather used to say that. My grandfather said that. He said to
Petrucci housewife should say that.
be your, and he was an immigrant from Italy, but he would say, you can't fake authenticity, and it'll always come through to authentic people that you're authentic. And he'd say, don't be a liar. You could be a liar. You could lie to everybody, but that guy in the mirror, you can't lie to him. He knows the truth.
No, it's true. It's true. And so I think, some of the greatest things that we can do right now, because often when we're not authentic, you've heard the old proverbial thing about, somebody, angry guy comes home and he kicks the dog, right? Well, if we're not honest and authentic, all of our pain and frustration and sense of lack will spill out on others. So the first thing we can do to reduce violence in the world is be honest and face what is ours to face.
That's brilliantly said. That really is brilliantly said. That really is. I'm so glad that, we're going to run out of time, and I am sorry to say that. And I would love to do a deeper dive with you on it, because we really didn't get to anything that I mean, we have several really good little points here.
Sure,
So many things. I'd be happy
to come back another time and let's go further together. Sure.
I really appreciate that, because I have so many questions here that have not been answered. Just real quickly before we go, and I'd like to know a couple just little things about you, Mark. Are you a happy person? Because it seems like a lot of the stuff that you write is so deep. I'm like, where is the humor? Is to me like really important, and I'm wondering, like, do you go kick back with a couple of guys at the bar and tell a couple of jokes and have a few beers and just like,
absolutely. Mm-hmm. The thing, I admire what you guys do, because I'm in awe of people who can design humor. I mean, to me, humor, which is a big part of my life, but humor for me is like sneezing. I have no control over when it shows up at all. At all. So I'm in awe when you guys design like a whole, thing. I don't know how you do that. It's just beyond me. I trip on humor, and it's fantastic. And to me, there's a difference between joy and happiness. Happiness is like ice cream. It's like, I love having ice cream. It comes, it goes. But joy is deeper, and joy is when we're authentic, when we're in moments like now, and whether we talk about difficult things or wonderful things, joy is the reverberation of being authentic. It's like a tuning fork. You hit a tuning fork or you hit a chime. It's the feel, the vibration of being real is joy. And it says like, wow, like for all I've been through, like I don't have a bucket list or a 5-year plan. I just want to be in what we're doing here as much as possible. That's it.
That's wonderful. We definitely have to do this again, and I'm going to hold you to it.
Sure.
We got to do a 2-hour interview because I wasn't able to get a lot out. I feel like this is great, and I feel a little gypped. I'm like, oh, that's not fair. I'm shackled. Thank you so much. So, all right, first of all, I have your book here, but we could bring it up on the screen as well. Where do we go to see you, and what website, and also where? I understand that you have some upcoming seminars as well, I believe.
Yeah, so I've been, I'm just starting to go back out next week, actually, first traveling, but I've been doing online webinars. So the next one, if people go to live.marknepo.com, my next one there will be in November, 3 successive Sundays. So, and it's all the details are there. You can find it. Yeah, you got it up there. That's great. And that theme of that one will be the fire of aliveness coming back into the world. And so people can go to that website and find out more details and register if they want. And then, yeah, I'm starting to go out. Next week, I'm going to Omega. I've taught there for years, and upstate, in Rhinebeck is Omega Institute. So this will be the first one out. But I got my booster yesterday. So we'll see how it all goes.
I hear you. We've all learned a lot with COVID over the last year. My first joke was, my wife and I were so fearful of it. We sat on the couch 10 feet apart for over 6 months. And what we learned was that the learning process was that we were never so close.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yes, absolutely.
All right. So once again, it's live.marknepo.com, and you have an upcoming seminar that will be available in November for the Sundays, and as well as they can go on there. Do you do private instruction as well? If somebody privately wanted to speak to you?
I don't do private instruction, but I teach a lot. I love teaching. So, I will, if people go to that website or my website, marknepo.com, either one, there's a whole list of where I'll be teaching and speaking, both online and in person. And as we get to going out there again more and more.
I appreciate this more than you know, and you are a delight and a pleasure to talk to. And clearly you could see the mind behind the words, and it's really nice to hear it come out of your head as opposed to when I'm reading it, because you don't know where it's coming from. It's very inspiring, which is a beautiful word in itself.
And plus he has a great haircut too, Pete. You got to admit.
Yeah, he's got the haircut. I'm getting there. I'm on my way.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna be authentic.
Never you, my friend.
Thank you so much, Mark. Stay well and healthy.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, you guys too. I look forward to more.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
I know you felt cheated. I know. I'm sorry.
I'm not cheated. I love this guy. I really do. I think he's wonderful. I really.
Yeah. You know this always goes that way where we need 5 hours. So.
I know. This 1 hour stuff is no good. It's not good at all. This should be a 3-hour show. And
we're
Mark
already
is
3 minutes
pleasure.
over. All right.
That's okay.
Until next time.
I'll see you later. Thanks, Mark. And we also want to thank our booker, John Galasso.
Yes.
Who has a wonderful book out called A Smile, a Grin, a Laugh, That's Life. I'm in there at justlaugh.org. You could go there and pick up that book if you want to laugh about what's funny in life and about humor and comedians, etc. And we have to thank Leland, the man of God, who actually runs our show. And on all the other channels,
what do we want to do? He's a man of God, or he is God?
He's a man of God.
Okay.
He's there. You hear him? And I also want people to subscribe and press the like button if you like it, and tell us your thoughts as well.
And if you like it, leave a comment. If you don't, go to johnpeasy.com and tell him how much you hate him.
Thank you, Sausage.
I'll see you later.
Take care, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.